Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Health E-commerce Friday Live podcast. I'm your host, Amy Kading, Technical Product Manager and Marketing Services Director at Get Healthy, and we're going live every Friday to discuss growing the business of health and wellness. Last week, we talked about why groups and programs are essential to your wellness business. And today, we're going to explore how to get powerful results from webinars. Returning again this week is our special guest, Tracy Straub, naturopathic doctor and our VP of Innovation and Growth at Get Healthy. Welcome back, Tracy.
Thanks. Great to be here. It's our Friday thing.
Long time, no talk.
I know. I talked to you, 12 seconds ago?
Yeah.
So we live here now in this little box, but it's
We do.
great. So good. Yeah. Today we're talking a little bit about webinars. So I love webinars. So I'm excited about this topic.
So in case somebody's never heard of it, what is a webinar?
Well, basically, it's just a way to get information to people, right? And it's a little bit different than doing a live stream, something like this. Webinars give you a little bit more time to prep, to advertise, to collect leads, names, people that are interested. It helps you get market feedback on the topic that you're talking about. So webinars are usually done at a scheduled date, and you can get people to register for it. Depending on what application you use PowerPoints, or you can just talk about a topic. So versus this, which is like a live stream, right, where we're not prepping a whole lot of materials, or hey, Renee, or we're not laying out a PowerPoint. I usually use webinars with PowerPoint and a specific topic and solution.
So do you have some examples of how, with your store specifically, webinars have, helped you with your store and your online presence and your business?
Yeah, actually, I like webinars for a couple of different things. And I think that's just setting people up for success, right? Like I posted out today, I'm like, do your webinars suck? Like just kidding. But I mean, I think what happens is with webinars, you won't get a huge turnout. So you might have 100 people register, but only about 25 will turn out. That's average. So I don't want people to think that the success of a webinar is how many people show up live. Most live venues like this or webinars are going to get the recorded view. People want to watch it later in their house pants on a Saturday morning with their coffee, right? But maybe 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock on a Friday doesn't work for a live stream for somebody. Or, webinar success is more in the nighttime. 7 p.m. at night. The best webinar nights are usually Wednesdays or Thursdays. So having a live webinar that you can invite people to and interact live versus them watching it later, or you can do a recorded webinar and send that out. So there's lots of different ways that you can do it. And depending on the application you use, you can look live or it can just be a recording. So I like to use Zoom for most webinars. It's easy. It allows people into the meeting room with me. There is a webinar feature on Zoom that you can use so that people don't have to be in the box with you, because sometimes they turn their camera on and they're in the bathroom and you're like, hey, Sally, we can see you. So I usually give people a preference of like, hey, if you're going to be on the live meeting with me in Zoom, please turn your cameras off. And please mute yourself because there have been some embarrassing moments for people.
Oh, I'm sure.
And then, second, with webinars is know your goal. What are you trying to do? So are you trying to get more clients? You're trying to like lead acquisition. That's the big term that, marketing people use, lead acquisition. That just means you're putting a webinar out to attract clients to you. So are you talking about your business? Are you talking about how you practice? Those are really important things when you're developing a webinar, is like, what are you trying to do with it? The second thing that I use webinars
real quick
for,
on that, I want to just point out, because we've been talking a lot about, email. We started with like email list and segmentation, and then kind of dove into more of content, but webinars are a type of content that we've been talking about over the past few months. And you mentioned, defining your goal with any piece of content, whether you're creating a graphic or an email, social post, like always set that objective or your goal first. Define your audience first before you like jump in and press record. You don't set, a goal. You could be all over the place. Can't achieve everything at one time.
You can't. We shouldn't tell everything.
You can try, but you're going to have the best results when you really pivot it towards one goal. So just kind of want to reiterate that.
No, that's great. And I mean, just so people understand, like, we've been working with Amy here at Get Healthy because she is a digital marketing expert. And so, she's really kind of tailored some of the things that we did, not only for the company of GetHealthy.store, but for the practitioners that utilize our technology. So we have, marketing services that we're going to talk about, because I have 4 points that I want to get to, but my fourth point is really how I fail at the end of certain things that I do strategically that, Amy has kind of taught me and other practitioners that we don't have to. So there are some things. So hang tight for the fourth point. So, but yeah, know your goal. That's probably rule number one with webinars, is what are you trying to accomplish? So I usually have about 3 goals, right? Not all at one time, but for different webinars. So for a webinar type where I'm trying to get people to understand that, this webinar is about what I do, how I practice, and how I can help you, lead acquisition, right? I'm trying to get people to maybe schedule with me as a clinician, or get them to a solution, as a quick assessment or an appointment, right? The second goal would be a little teaser to a course. Like, some people aren't always sure if they want to take a course or if it's valid in their life. They're like, well, what will I learn? And should I take this? Those are the big questions that I get. So sometimes doing a webinar that explains what your course is about and maybe a little teaser of the information, will get people to be like, oh man, I got to take this course. So I'll do that if I have a course coming up. And then the third thing is to teach people something about health, like a solution set.
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe they have thyroid issues, or they have chronic Lyme, or we did a big a thing on the jab, like all of those things that come up. And so I might want to get them to a protocol that will help them or a loved one, but I need to explain it a little bit. I got to get their buy-in.
Yeah.
So that takes me to point number 2, is how do you design a webinar that's successful, right? So knowing your goal and what you're trying to do, and then designing that webinar for success in whatever that goal is. And I usually go real simple with webinars. I have 4 things that I'm trying to get out to people, regardless of my goal. Number 1 is I'm going to state the problem, right? So if I'm talking about getting clients to me, I might state the problem of, maybe clients just don't know who to go to. Am I the right practitioner for you, right? Or if it's a condition-specific thing, I might state the problem of, Lyme disease goes undiagnosed approximately for about 450,000 people a year. Why is that so? And then who does it affect, right? Does it affect you or a loved one? Does it affect you because you have this condition? Does it affect you because you have been confused in the industry? And then the third thing that I try to point out in a webinar is the actual solution, and why it's relevant. And then the last part is why it works. So if I'm talking about a supplement solution, I'm going to talk about the science of why it works and how it helps you overcome an issue. If I'm talking about a solution pertaining to what kind of practitioner do you need, I'm going to tell them why chiropractors are good, or why natural health professionals are good, or why, if you actually need a medical professional, what they're good for, and what you can ask your doctor for. So I think having the goal and then setting up that webinar so that it is successful are 2 key things that people miss. Like you said, they're trying to do too many things.
Mm-hmm.
And then in trying to do too many things, they have too many topics within their webinar, and people don't know what to do at the end of it, or really what the webinar was about.
Right.
And it gets diluted. So those are kind of things that I work with webinar construction.
Do you have any advice for like keeping focused and structured, like within the content itself of the webinar? Like, do you prep it a certain way?
Do I prep it a certain way? No, actually, if you would see my computer, you can probably see my ADHD totally shows and all my tabs, right? Now, don't get me wrong, you're going to tangent a bit in webinars. I mean, you're going to start out talking about one thing, and then, you kind of vet the feedback of the people that are in the webinar with you. They're going to have these one-off questions that I use for market feedback. Like, if people are asking me specific questions that I didn't cover on the webinar, I might say, like, this is great, guys. So if you come to my course, I'm going to talk about that subject. So then I'm going to use that as like a lead in of like, oh, I didn't answer that here, but I will answer it in my course. Or I didn't answer it in this solution because it might be a secondary issue that results from, some sort of condition. Here's an additional product that you might need to add to this foundational solution that we talked about today. So I set it up going in obviously with the goal in those 4 points.
Yeah.
And usually that's enough. But then I got to get them somewhere, and that's where another barrier comes in. So point 1 is know your goal. Point 2 is make sure your webinar is constructed so that there's a linear flow of material and your people can follow this bouncing ball of like, yep, I have this issue. Yes, that affects me. Yes, I need the solution and I understand why it works. Those are the 4 components. And then you need a call to action, right? Like, what do you want these people to do? Do you want them to make an appointment with you? Do you want them to take your course? Do you want them to buy the product? And then how do you get that solution set to them? I think most of the time practitioners are afraid to like do a call to action. Like, hey guys,
how can you measure the success of your webinar if you don't, me, I'm like, we got to measure everything and try to tie it back to data. So yes, must have a call to action because everyone, depending on your goal, your KPI is going to be different depending on what that call to action is. It's not going to be the same every time.
KPI, that's a big word. Key point indicator, right? Totally understand what you're saying, but a lot of people don't. So your key point indicator is like, obviously that indication that you were successful. Did people sign up with you for a consult? Did they take your course? Or did they buy the product? That's a KPI, right? Yeah. So I'm here to dumb it down. These are really smart people at Get Healthy, and Tracy just comes in to dumb it down for everybody. Yeah, I'm like, here I am, don't worry. But just talking about that, right? There's a big misconception in the natural health world of having this guilt complex for calling people to action to do something with you. It's like, I want to teach you, but I don't want to look like I'm selling you something. I want to teach you, but I don't want you to think that I'm trying to get you to make an appointment with me. Like, there's this big guilt complex over us, not because the market has said that, but because there's powers that be, right, on the medical side that'll say to practitioners selling supplements, oh, look, they're just trying to sell you something. Well, in all fairness, and I'm just going to call this out, I don't have a supplement company making a commercial for me on TV saying, ask your natural health professional how this can help you. But doctors have that with pharmaceutical companies, which is amazing advertising that a pharmaceutical company can get on television and advertise a product to you that you can't buy, that you have to literally go to your doctor and ask for. That'd be great if product companies would do that for me. I'd totally appreciate that. But that's not what they do. So it leaves us, a practitioner as the ambassador, right, to go out on a level of expertise and say, listen, I see this all the time in my clinic. I know what you're going through. I know the solution that works. I'm going to tell you why and how to use it. I'm also going to tell you how long. And then we feel bad about saying, buy this solution right here, and I'll give you a discount. I don't feel bad giving people what they need to get better. Right. I'm sorry.
What are they there for?
And you know what? It's going to cost you money, just like your Starbucks coffee or your Diet Coke that you're buying that's actually detracting from your health. So I don't feel bad about teaching somebody how to take care of themselves. And I don't feel bad about directing them to my store on the Get Healthy platform that's going to get them the solution. I'm sorry, I don't feel guilty about that. I actually feel really good about that because I know that you're not going to get on another big website that's very confusing and then text me 14 times asking me if these are the right products.
Right. Exactly.
Not only is that hard for me because I may not know the brand you're looking at, but it's hard and it creates this barrier for the patient and client where they can't get what they need. And they're already sick and they don't feel good and they don't want to web surf to try to figure out their own products. So that's where I'm usually telling, the practitioners that I work with when I do mentoring, I'm like, have a call to action and tell them where to go. We're not dealing with a healthy population that has clear thinking. I mean, most people that I deal with have brain fog. That's just a given. Most people that I deal with have really low energy and don't feel well. They don't want to go out and surf the web and try to figure this out. So I tell practitioners, you're actually doing a service to somebody by directing them to your product solution or to your link where they can just sign up for an appointment or to your course where they can learn to take care of themselves. We have to get over the guilt complex because we're not helping anybody if we don't tell them where to go and what to do. I mean, I always tell people, I'm not negotiating with you. I'm recommending this. It's not a negotiation, it's a recommendation. do it or don't, but I'm going to give you the solution and I'm not going to feel bad about doing it. So, and most people actually appreciate that. And they're like, oh, thanks so much.
Definitely. People want directness. I mean, I've seen this in e-commerce, the past 17 plus years. I mean, e-commerce one-on-one is like, speaking of Starbucks,
it's water.
Is we talk about, getting people, from the site to your shopping cart as soon as possible. Like, be direct, make sure people don't have to do math. There's all these things. It's the same thing on like marketing content. Like, be direct with your content, say it what it is that you mean, provide a solution that is exactly what the solution is. I mean, how disappointed are people when they order something and they get something that they weren't expecting? It's the same thing with content, give them what they want. So we hear that a lot. Like, we don't want to be salesy, but there are, ways around it. And it's really important to be direct. And that's why there's different call to actions. If you have like a webinar every single time, that's probably like, buy this product. Yeah, sure. That might feel salesy. If you're like, getting engagement, growing your audience, trying to get people to come to these events that aren't about buying, there's other ways.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole idea of free, valuable content, right? I mean, I'm not always trying to get you to do something. Sometimes I'm just out there like, hey guys, I received 27 text messages on this. Let's just talk about it in real time. Let's do a webinar on it. And I will vet the field. I do a lot of courses and a lot of education because that's what I love to do. I love to teach people. And I think the more people know, the better decisions they can make for their health and the more decisions they can make on their own without asking me. My favorite text messages are, I had X, Y, and Z, and I got this product. Was it right? Yes. And they know they can go to my store and they know that it's a good product, one that I have recommended in the past. So they feel confident about it. And they know that if they buy from me, they have access to me. That's a big thing. People can get a product, but then they're like, hey, I ordered this from you and I've been taking it for about 30 days. I'm feeling a little better, but not quite. What do you think? Well, knowing that I've worked with them in the past, knowing their history and all the things, I can be like, oh yeah, take it for a little bit longer. You might need it for 60 to 90 days, but then once that's done, you should be good. Because I always tell my clients, like, supplements are meant to be supplemental to a healthy lifestyle. If you're using the same protocol over and over again, not getting results, then you're not doing something foundationally. We might need an appointment for that to figure out what the problem is. Because I don't want somebody to come with a goal and say to me like, hey, I want to get off this medication. Obviously, I can't cure, treat, or diagnose, and I don't recommend people come off of meds. But what we do is enhanced lifestyle where eventually they don't need the med and they can go to their professional doctor or licensed professional and get off of that med with their help. But going off one med to get on 50 supplements doesn't make any sense to me. So, I'm usually like, let's educate you into lifestyle. Let's do some webinars. Let's give you some resources so that these are supplemental to a healthy lifestyle. And really you're putting all of your effort into how you live, how do you eat, sleep, move, poop, eliminate, all those things, right? Those are the foundations. So, and those cost less money. Well, not food anymore, but unless you grow it, you go to the grocery store, you're probably paying more for groceries than you are for supplements. I'm like, can I just eat B vitamins and not eat food? That's cheaper. But so far, haven't been able to do it. I still get
Right, that makes sense. So what if I'm a practitioner and I'm, really interested in getting into webinars? I see the value. I, have specific goals, but I'm like, not comfortable being on camera or just kind of hesitant about like getting started. Do you have any like tips or tricks for people that might be feeling the same way?
Yeah. Actually, you don't have to show your face on camera. I mean, we can block me out right now with a graphic, right? And I can just talk. So, one of the beautiful things about technology is that there's many ways to play, and it depends on what application you're using. Like Twitter Spaces, it's just voice, right? You can get on a Twitter space and just talk with a bunch of other people, other professionals. Those are really cool. On Instagram or Facebook, you can post videos that you've pre-recorded. And if you use applications like Zoom or this one, you can put a PowerPoint up and just turn your camera off. And so that PowerPoint actually becomes the front of what people are looking for. And as you're flipping through the slides, it's your voice overlay that they hear. It's still you. But if you don't want to get all pretty and do your hair and makeup and you're not real comfortable on camera, you don't have to. And you don't have to do it live. You
Yeah.
can pre-record these things. You can put them into editing software, even like iMovie on your phone or your computer works fine. And you can use, what is the application for the video that's on computers? I can't remember right now. It's QuickTime. And you can cut out segments of your video, like maybe you fumbled over your words, or the dogs are barking like at my house 24/7, and I'm trying to say something and the dogs are barking. Normally what I tell people is just stop, like give yourself a 3-second pause, and then resume again what you were saying. And then when you go back and edit that video in QuickTime, you just cut out that segment of dog barking and you couldn't hear. And once you put it back together, which is super easy, it just flows through. So I think sometimes practitioners think, it takes a big team to like scale. And while it does take time, if you dedicate an hour or two every week to, refining these talents, they become second nature. And so people say to me like, oh my gosh, how do you do all the things you do? Well, I had to learn a lot of applications that took the burden off of me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I learned Restream a long time ago because I was like, man, I can, stream to 4 or 5 different platforms at one time, right? That's awesome.
Yeah.
But then I had to learn, like when it did stream, like in the header, what I built like this, like we're on Restream. It's the application we use. It's pretty cheap. But, how do you link it back in the header to where I want them to go? And so that linking, which another big word you guys use is linking strategies, right? Like, how do I strategize my linking? Like, how do I get people to my link to my calendar? How do I get people to the link to my store? And the URLs that you're usually looking at, or when you click share and you copy that, that's what you put in your header. And a lot of times people will put it in their comments, which is great. But I think if you notice, Amy, on social media, like it'll say most relevant, right? It doesn't always show all the comments. And most of the time it doesn't show your link comments. Yes. So I always suggest, like, if you're putting anything online, put it in your post comments, like put your link to where you want people to go, and then actually point to it. Hey guys, if you want these products I talk about, go here, little finger emoji, whatever, the appropriate finger emoji, yes. Y'all, the appropriate one. But like a pointing finger or an arrow or something to get them to click that link and go to the solution. Again, call to action. That's what a call to action is. Go here and get this. And to make it more enticing and to help your clients, use a code. You want to go to a course? Go here, use this code for a discount. You want to go to a product? Go here, use this code for a discount. I mean, it just helps people financially because they are looking for solutions, and it's enticing. And then the third thing that I would say is limited time. Yeah. Right? Put a timestamp on it. This is only good till Saturday. Link good until Friday. Course closes at this time. I usually tell people, because that's what happens. And unfortunately, they don't see a lot of things on social media, like 2% of visibility, right? But I'll tell them, like, no late entry. Like, I'm not going to let you in the course if you don't register by this date. Yeah. And usually that call to action with a limited time will get people to move to what you want them to move to. And it's not trying to be mean. It's just, I don't have time to answer 50 emails from people saying, oh, I wanted to sign up for your course, but I didn't, And I can't always go back and get those people entered because I don't have a team. So I have to be very strategic on my boundaries and be like, I need you to get in by this time because it's just Tracy over here. Like, I don't have a big team of people helping me out unless I bug Amy and Courtney over at Get Healthy to do it for me.
Happy to. Would you say, like, best practice, like timing of a webinar? I mean, is 15 minutes too short? Is an hour too long? I always think about, from a marketing perspective, people have such short attention spans, but I'm sure it totally depends on the topic and the value of the content. But for you specifically, is there like a sweet spot for what you've been finding works with your audience?
No. No, I'm just kidding. No.
That's why you set your CTA and you measure to see if people are showing up and you adjust it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can honestly tell you if it's content that, and I'm going to use this phrase, people are dying for, they'll stay as long as necessary. I did a big webinar series with Judy. It was 6 courses, 9 hours of content. We didn't have anyone drop off. And if they did, they would sit in the chat like, oh my gosh, so interesting. I wish I could stay. I got to go. Like, And I do say that at the beginning of the webinar, like, listen, guys, this is going to be about 45 minutes to an hour. If you need to drop off, drop off. It's going to be recorded. I will send it to you afterwards. And that usually gives people that guilt thing. Signing up for a webinar, I'll put that in the header. Like, webinar is going to be, I set the expectation. It's going to be a 45-minute webinar, maybe an hour with Q&A. If you can't make it the whole time, no problem. Show up and I'll send you the recording, but you have to register. So the big thing with webinars that is awesome compared to a live stream is that if people register and you set the expectation, then they know that you're basically vetting your audience, right? This webinar is about this. It's going to be this long. Register and I'll give you the recording. You basically take away all the barriers, right? So people are like, well, I don't have 45 minutes to watch it live, but I can watch it Saturday with my coffee on in my house pants, like, right? So they'll register so that they get it. And then they have a plan for Saturday morning. The thing with live streams is I think people are 30 minutes. They're kind of like, yeah, you can see people are popping on, popping off. Like, if they're on their lunch hour, maybe the content's interesting to them. They'll think to themselves, I'll watch it later. But I don't get offended by that. Like, it just is what it is. So I would say it does matter about the content. Yeah. If you're taking a deep dive into a condition, you're going to want to stay there about 45 minutes to answer questions. If it's just about your business and who you are and trying to get people to the right place, usually a 20, 30-minute webinar can cover that. If it's a teaser to a course, you don't want to do an hour as a teaser, because your course is going to be really where the content is. You should have like a high level view of like, here's the problem, here's who it affects, here's the solution, here's why it works. And I'm going to take a deep dive into these 5 topics, but I can't deep dive today. So I'd probably do like a 20-minute teaser, like, hey guys, I just want to come here and talk a little bit about what I'm going to be talking about in my course. Boom, 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 very quick, high level. So I think it's topic specific, condition specific, and then solution specific. Like, how much information are you offering in that webinar? And is it too much in one sitting for the audience? Yeah. Should you break it up? And usually that's a course, right? So if you find that you have to do more than an hour on one condition specific topic, you probably need to develop a course that people can really do.
Oh, that's a good tip. Okay. All right. So before we run out of time, I want to kind of circle back on, getting powerful results. You were just talking about leading up to it and then the follow-up. And of course, I'll plug marketing services a little bit here. Excuse me, I'm just talking way too much today.
Yeah, you are.
But you can't just expect people to show up and, if you don't promote your webinar, right? Like, if you don't post it on your social account, if you don't lead with an email to your existing audience, or maybe like boost it to some other audiences on social channels, like, you got to put a little bit of effort to get it out there, to get more people in there. Otherwise, you're not going to have anybody to follow up with. So, those are things that we help with. We can help, grow your audience, promote it, get creative, just to like, it doesn't have to be crazy. Like, put a graphic up and some copy, do it a couple times leading up to the event. And then the follow-up, you mentioned the recording.
There's a follow-up?
I never show up to lives because I just run out of time. I want to.
I have every good intention to. And sometimes it's on my calendar and I'm like,
I know. So, but thankfully people do record them. And so, make sure you're capturing people's emails leading up to it so that you can follow up with them, whether it's one campaign or a flow, which is a automated sequence that goes out. Make sure you're talking to them. We talk about words, every week, the engagement piece and how it's so important and our pillars of success. You can't just be like, one webinar, I'm done. I'm never going to talk to you again. Hope you make an appointment with me sometime, or maybe buy something. Like, you gotta nurture people, and you gotta keep talking.
So let's talk about that. Let's go over time a little bit here, because this is a big part of it, right? Yeah. So one of the things where I fail mostly is that nurturing and follow up. Not that I don't get the recording out, I do. Right. And a lot of the applications that require registration, and I'll just use one that I've used all the time is Eventbrite, right? It's kind of the first it took, your Ticketmaster for a concert, right? Mm-hmm. So I always try to get people to understand, like, MTV is your advertisement, right? That's you on social media. That used
Yeah.
to be old school for us. And then you went to Ticketmaster and you bought your ticket and you showed up at the concert. And now it's kind of like social media, Eventbrite, and then you show up. Now Zoom allows you to register, but it's not the easiest application. I
Right.
actually had to text Courtney and be like, "How do I get my list of people out of here? I can't." Like, it was just like crazy. So Zoom, FYI, you need some improvements on your development there. But you can use registration event platforms like Eventbrite, which you can build nice registrations, capture. It can be free. And they only charge you if you charge. If you do free events, it doesn't cost you anything. So it's a nice application. You get to capture those emails. And then there is an email platform inside the Eventbrite that I can just be like, here's your recording, guys. And I can take the link from Zoom, put it in the email, and send it out. Those software tools make life easy, right? Now, they don't allow you for further nurturing because there's a little caveat that you got to check that you're not spamming inside of Eventbrite. So they want to be what they are. They want to be a registration platform. You can export those emails and put them into a marketing software, right? Something like Klaviyo, or if you have other email softwares. But that's usually where Tracy's efforts die, because I'm not going to do that. I will send you the recording and then I'm like, bye-bye. So I probably have 10,000 emails on Eventbrite, easy, because I've been using it for years, right? Of people that I've registered. And, then I have another software that I have, and then you have your store. So that system of bringing it together is usually where we stop scale.
Sure.
Because we don't have teams. Tracy doesn't have a team that's going to go export emails, put them into my email software, which at this point, I have so many emails in my email software that I'm like, I either have to upgrade my fee, or I need to switch systems to a system that integrates with our store. So Tracy's at a dead point, not happening. So that's where your team, right? Our team at Get Healthy comes in.
It takes time. It takes a lot of time to do that.
It does.
You gotta create it. You gotta test things. There's a lot of details that go into it.
That's right.
So
Tracy's marketing effort dies there, which is where I need the Get Healthy team to come in. And for, there's a price to marketing. You're going to pay any
affordable. Yeah.
Oh, it's ridiculously affordable. We might as well just give it away, but we don't. But it does cover some graphic creation costs that we do need. Like, these things don't magically appear. And for me personally, to get somebody to do that, export my emails, put it in, create graphics, all that would be thousands of dollars a month. I'm basically looking at a full-time employee that I would have to hire. At this point, is that worth it to me, or is it not? And can I afford it? Probably not at this point. But I can use services, because I have a Get Healthy store, that are available through Get Healthy Store, which is our marketing services, to take me to that next level. And, those are what we call bridges to the next level of scaling. That's why we have 3 levels of packages available for our store. So really affordable first tier, second tier where you're scaling, which is where I am, like a trailblazer, right? And then you get to that third tier where you might have a whole team, the innovator. But that's why we did that we know that we're the technology that practitioners can grow with. And then if they want to create courses, we have the learning management system, so you can sell those right through your store. Right. If they need marketing services, we have that, so you can have a whole team behind you. We have customer service on the front, operations, which helps you with your private label once you get to that level. Like, we have a lot of cool things that I think, a lot of people will compare us with other dispensaries. We're not a dispensary. We're so much more than a dispensary. Like, what we do here is amazing. So if you're watching and you don't have a store, you got to connect with Amy, because it's something that you need if you feel like I'm right there too. Because that's where I was. And it was a game changer for me and gave me a lot of, not that financial freedom is what I'm looking for, but it's what helps, when you want to help more people. You get to a point where you're personally saturated. And that's probably where I am. I'm just personally saturated. I got no more time. If there's so many people, like, how do I hit them all? How do I help them all? Right. And so I have to scale up. I got to do webinars. I got to do education. I got to teach people to take care of themselves, because I can have all the information and solutions in the whole world, but if I can't get them out there, it doesn't help anybody. Exactly. So that's where all these tools really help us. It helps us help more people. So
doesn't have to be scary.
No. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Tracy, for sharing your very expert opinion on firsthand experience with these webinars. You do them so well, and I'm always impressed. Just,
I impressed our digital marketer. Yes.
Make it look so easy. But thank you for providing some framework for people who've never done it or thinking about doing it, and how these can lead to powerful results for your store, your practice, and well within the community. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for all you guys do too with marketing services. It's really helped. I know that accounts that we have are really doing well, so we appreciate it.
Absolutely. If anybody has any questions today, or they want to talk about marketing services, or any questions on webinars, please feel free to reach out to me directly at amy.kading@gethealthy.store or gethealthy.store/contact. And please make sure you follow and subscribe to all of our social channels. If you want, please come back next week. We're going to have Courtney and Tracy back. It's going to be so fun to have all three of us. And we're going to talk about, explore why clients are not finishing your online courses.
I'll help you.
What you can do to get them to do it and how that's going to grow your business even more. So come back. We're going to talk about that. There's a lot of information that we still haven't explored yet on LMS. So
yeah.
I'm really excited to dive
in. Well, that's a big one, just so people know next week to tune in, because if you're doing courses and people aren't finishing them, it's not helping them. You know what I mean? And that's one of the biggest reasons that people churn off of learning management systems is people don't finish their courses. Right. And so they don't get them to the solutions, and then people don't come back. So you got to finish what you start, guys. And we have ways that will help your clients do that. So Courtney loves to talk about gamification.
Yes.
I call it the Fortnite
big word we're going to drop.
We're going to drop big words next week, but I'll be here to dumb it down. So don't worry.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon. Bye.